But whatever it is, Karen is not here for it. So, Andy wants to dive in a little bit deeper into this conversation about the funeral. And, of course, Karen shuts it down. Now, Charrise, she says, look, I went there and yeah, it was all authentic for her, right? She wanted to be there for her. And at that point also Karen had shared about, she had been friends with Charisse in 5 years. And that's roughly about the time frame that her mother had passed away 5 to 6 years ago, right? And so she said, we have not been friends since. So she was done with that. Charisse basically says whatever 5-year issue isn't an issue. Like, it's not a thing. Apparently Karen had a 55th birthday. That was an issue that was brought up that, not only, and this would be after, I believe, the funeral, that Charisse was invited to. And, Karen then, sets the record straight and says Matt, Matt, the assistant, that he was the one that asked Karen, hey, is it okay if Charisse can come? And she just said, yes, of course, and left it at that. But Karen does not see that as an invite, right? But Charisse does. And depending on how it was relayed to her, which I could see Matt simply saying, hey, you're invited to Karen's 55th birthday. Apparently it was an intimate birthday. So everyone thought that this was an invite, because why would you invite someone to your party, especially an intimate one, right? With closest friends, family would be assumed, if you didn't really care for the person. And to Charisse's astonishment, she didn't realize that Karen didn't like her. She thought that they were cool. So it's still a lot of something unearthed there that needs to come out. Somebody said something, somebody has claimed something, somebody has done something. And we need Karen to just share what exactly it is, but maybe it's a conversation the two ladies need to have off camera before they can address it on camera. Otherwise, I think we're just going to stay here. And I really do feel Karen is kind of in that position where she's like, I'm good. I'm good. But, Charisse is not. I think Charisse really wants to kind of reach out to her. I think Charisse really wants to, say and get out everything that they need to get out, and let's move forward from that, right? I don't even think she's really that swept up about the Grand Dame situation, right? But I do feel Charisse does want to come back on the show. I think she wants to be a full-time, housewife. And I can see that. I mean, she was one of the originals. I know there's a lot of split feelings on Charisse and her participation thereof onto the show. I don't mind Charisse so much. But I'll say this. There are certain ways about Charisse that I don't care about, or care for, rather. I don't always feel she's kind of got this nice, nasty thing about her, and that doesn't really work for me. And I'm not really into the pompous stance of things. I think with Karen, she's so relatable, but yet, she knows how to be in different situations, and I can appreciate that. And I don't ever feel like she feels like she's talking down to you or condescending to you. Whereas I think Charisse, a lot of times in the earlier seasons of her time there, kind of came off that way, and it just was very unappealing. So that left a bit of a bad taste in my mouth. I always wanted to feel for Charisse because, I know she was going through a divorce, and sometimes when you're going through major situations in the background, it will definitely affect how you are with people in the upfront, right? I mean, when your whole world is falling apart as you know it, and you're having to shift and move and to do different things to really rebuild your situation, and maybe also trying not to get all of it out there on Front Street for everybody in the world to see as you're going through it, this can affect you. And so that's understandable. So I always try to give her a bit of a, I don't know if a pass is really the right word, but really just kind of give her some breathing room, right? And give her an opportunity to kind of come back and be likable, because I feel like Charisse could be likable. And I know that everybody feels, kind of against Charisse. I think that there's definitely a split. But I also think that there's just something underneath for Charisse. And so I will not have a problem with her coming back. But what I will have an issue with her is she comes back with the concept of continuously being in combat with Karen. I want to see that resolved to a point where it's not so nasty. And if they're going back with each other, it's more out of fun and humor, I guess. Kind of like how Giselle and Karen are. Because, Giselle says some really, foul stuff to Karen, and Karen too. but they seem to be able to have a bit of a banter and come back together. And I would like to see that. I'm not saying that everybody's got to be kumbaya getting along, right? Because there is going to always be some kind of friction. But I really would like to see Charrise and Karen at least come to a common ground where it's not so, where Karen's running out of every scene with Charisse, okay? And every time there's an event, she's like, I gotta go, I'm not feeling well, whatever, I'm not coming. Can we just get that together? So I don't know, we'll have to see, but that's my thoughts. I would love to know your thoughts below. So you let me know how you feeling about Charisse and Karen. Do you think there's a possibility that they may be able to kind of come back together, talk about it at least? Oh, but wait, before you write, type, write, whatever, you know what I mean. Before you do anything about that, let's just add a little bit more. Yeah, a little bit, maybe salt to the wound, but it was a revealing salt to the wound, okay? Because, there was all these things that apparently Karen has heard that Charisse has said, and all these things that Charisse had said on the show, from one horrific situation to another, all in the name of cheating on poor Ray. Poor Ray, okay? And one of the last things that was even most horrific was that she had a relationship with somebody in a bathroom. And I'm sorry, I just don't see it. Not Karen. I just don't see it. Karen doesn't seem like she would. Look, if that's what you do, that's perfectly fine. You're an adult, you do what you want to do. I just don't see Karen doing that. So I do think it was a little bit of a put on, and I believe that it basically was revealed that it was. Because Charisse had said, look, you said a lot of things at me, and you were throwing a lot of things at me, so I'm throwing a lot of things at you. That's basically what she said, okay? It wasn't that coded. And so now that tells me, okay, so none of that was true. It was just hyperbole and lies. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Charisse was hurt by the things that she was being said to, because honestly, doesn't it make sense? If Charisse didn't understand or didn't even know that they were not friends, didn't know that she didn't like her, the last thing Charisse knows is, I went to your mother's funeral and I authentically went there. I wanted to show my support. I thought we were cool. We never had any conversation, any words or anything like that. So here I'm cool. And then I come on this show and all of a sudden I find out you dislike me. I mean, borderline probably like I not exist, which is even worse than hating someone, right? Like you don't exist to me. And so I'm trying to figure out, this is Charisse, right? What's going on? And then you're throwing these jabs at me, and so I'm going to throw them back, right? I'm not going to sit here and be disrespected. So, all of that needs to come to some kind of closure, obviously, for them to get to a certain point that they will be able to even maybe work together, But I'm sorry, Karen's still the ground up. So we're just going to close that one out, right? Let's not have that to be a battle of them and who is the best one in that. Karen has it hands down. If I'm not mistaken, it wasn't the fans the one that gave that to her. So what are you gonna do, tell them that no, I am the one? No, it was a a term of endearment given to Karen. So yeah, there you have it. And not only was Charisse invited to the 55th birthday, apparently Karen had, and Charisse had text messaging, very clear as day, where she was invited to Karen's Ladom party. And she said 2019, Karen said it was 2018. Okay, it's fine. Nevertheless, it was after, I believe, Charisse was even on the show. So again, furthering a situation in which Charisse didn't think anything was wrong. Now, Charisse has shared with us, and we've heard it over the seasons as well, Charisse is the one that actually brought all the girls together, right? All the ladies together. So there is a sense, I think, that Karen, because, she's one of those individuals, I think, that doesn't have a problem giving out an invitation, per se, maybe other than Charisse, but, she doesn't have a problem including you, right? Because at the end of the day, hey, it's exposure to whatever I'm doing. So if she's taking her to a Ladom party, that's associated with her business. Why not? I mean, I'm not going to exclude you. There's really no need to do that. There's obviously, they have shared friends and acquaintances, on and off camera. And so at the end of the day, I don't think that was ever an issue for her to have Charisse be a part of any of her gatherings and events, because it's not a personal one-on-one type of thing. So again, another reason why Charisse would not have thought anything other than we were cool, and I believe she went to the event, and so it seemed to be okay at that point. So, as they go through all of those aspects and still really unclear about what exactly was the issue, we do get to the point where Andy, says, hey, look, I want to just say something to everybody. I want everyone to know that, because there's a lot of conversation about that, and he is right, there has been since before the season even began, that people felt that Charrise was really trying to bulldoze her way back onto the show, and she was doing it at the expense of somebody being gotten rid of, and whether it would be Candace or Wendy, maybe even Mia, they were going to do what they could to get Charrise on the show. They being Giselle, Robin, and possibly Ashley. And so, and of course, Karen has no parts to do with that. But at the end of the day, Andy wanted to be known that, look, she didn't try to get on the show. She didn't contact us. We contacted her. She hasn't contacted us in 4 years. We wanted to bring her on. Now, if you had to watch What Happens Live, Karen was on there. And Karen, Andy had mentioned that again when they talked about it. This is obviously after the reunion. And Candy said, Karen says, oh, okay, yeah, you did invite her back. That's great. But that doesn't change the fact of somebody had to ask you to bring her back. Look, Andy just laughed that off. But back to the reunion. But he wanted that to be known, because I think that he has an affinity for Charrise. And if I'm not mistaken, Charisse left the show not for any other reason other than the situation that was going on with her divorce. So had that not been the issue, for all intents and purposes, Charisse probably would still be on the show. And who knows, maybe Amia would not be on the show. Who else is on here since then? I guess Mia's, right? The newest one. Is that even a word? Whatever. The newest one. I think Mia probably wouldn't be a thing. So yeah, because at that time Candace was still on. But you know what? Candace and Charisse was on together, right? The last season of Charisse's time, I think so. So I don't know. Mia would not have been the one here, though. I think that's true. And Monique need to stay. So I don't know. But yeah, so that was really great that they got an opportunity to get that out for everybody, whether you believe it or not, right? They just wanted to make sure that was put out there. So I felt because of that left the door open for Charisse. So I would love to know your thoughts. If you think we have seen the end of Charisse, or do you think that we might see her pop it back up for next season? Because I kind of feel that we're going to see her next season. I think she's ready to go. Everything is all in alignment for her to do what she needs to do. She's fully divorced. Whatever shackles that are attached to that situation are now done. Her kids, I think, are all grown, so she doesn't have to worry about that. And I think that they're probably very supportive of their mother anyways. So it would be interesting to know your thoughts, because I think it's just possible. And why is that? I need her to go find Monique and bring her back too. I don't know. I know they didn't get along either, but just figure it out, ladies. Figure it out. And then, of course, Mia does chime in also about those accusations, that was being hurled at her, being hurled at Karen, actually, by Charisse, and that evening out that they had. I think it was like the last episode of the season. And Mia wanted to confront Karen, basically let her know, hey, look, because Mia had been, and that was also one of the other ladies that Robin referred to as being cool with Charisse as well, that Mia learned to love her is what she said. But Mia was getting to know her at that time and liked her, and she just wanted to test to see if the theory was correct, if everything that Charisse was saying was correct. Because if you remember, Mia was brought on because of Karen, right? And I don't think they're that tight anymore. So I understand, I think that Karen has put her on the slow back burner for a while right now. But yeah, so she goes ahead and asks her, basically tell her that there's some guy, I guess some owner of something. I think they bleeped that out. But if you were able to catch it, let me know. But I think they bleeped it out. But that he had a friend that said he was dating Karen or something like that. It was really ridiculous sounding. Karen was like, what? And so bringing it back to the reunion, Karen's like, look, did not happen. And so Mia, again, really did back down in her stance. Like, oh, okay, well, that's all you had to say was, yes or no. I mean, if it didn't happen, it's a rumor, then it's a rumor. It's cool, it's fine. I thought, wow, that was easy. And she says, look, this is Karen now. You can't be just saying whatever you want to say. At the end of the day, you could be hurting people's reputations, other things going on, their relationships with other people, in particular, probably business relationships. People have children, whether they're adult children or smaller children, it doesn't matter. They have family members. And so you're saying these accusations, and not everybody is going to right off the bat think that you may be lying. They may question about what's going on or have something to say or go off half cocked off of Karen. And she doesn't even have anything to do with what is going on, but Mia is saying something, or anyone for that matter, is just throwing out lies because you want to hurt somebody. Sometimes you're doing more than just hurting that individual. You could be hurting a lot of things around them. So, Karen made it real clear, you just can't be saying any old thing and think it's okay. That's just not cool. It's not cool. And then at some point, it appears, I guess, that Charrise does leave the stage, just cha-cha-cha on her way out. She obviously had a good time. Andy was happy to see her. It was really nice goodbye. And they cut, right? Then we come back to Robin's segment. Okay, Robin's got a lot going on, y'all. Not everything she's been sharing either, but she got a lot going on. I don't know, you could probably see a lot of it on the nearest blog somewhere, right? Because everything that was going on in her home is being told outside of the confines of the Real Housewives of Potomac show. So yeah, that's how we're getting a lot of our information now. And it's pretty unfortunate because, look, at the end of the day, you're on a reality show and you're supposed to be talking about your reality, not using other individuals as storylines and targeting them. So hoping that people will do that and not get into your stuff. And that was another thing they also talked about Charrise being on the show, that maybe Charrise was part of that planning. And that was why, because Karen apparently has a little bit of information, if you will, and she was supposed to be, I guess, the neutralizer to Karen, and then the other ladies would just take on anybody else that has something to say. Child, please. Okay. But yeah, so that was that. But how could I forget? There was a funny part when because Karen ain't got no sense. She got lots of sense. She's this funny lady. But I guess when Charisse was talking and yada 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 is really what Karen was hearing. She had pulled out her nail file, like, really, Karen? And she said, look, I got a dinner tonight. That was so funny. Just had to mention that because I'm like, the shade of it all. Karen's got really funny shade to me. But yeah, nevertheless, it was something to laugh about. They kikied about it and we moved on. But, back to Robin and her non-existent life on the show. She basically, we run through the new house that they got, which, by the way, I like their house. I like all the ladies' houses. I mentioned that in part 2s as well. So, I would like to know your thoughts about what you think. But I think the house is beautiful. It was pretty. I like the furnishings and I like her decorating skills and all that good stuff. It's a nice home. So I'm glad that they were able to work that out and get that together. So, we talked about that. We already know about Robin's businesses. But they also talked about, the wedding, which was really, took on a whole life on its own. Will she or won't she? Will they or won't they? And then, of course, we all know the rumblings about things that are going on in Juan's situation at Copen, at the state university that he works at. And there's some stuff going on there with that lawsuit. I'm sure you're probably already aware of that. But basically, there is an athlete, for those who don't know. In a nutshell, I won't go into too much of details because even I'm finding more information about that myself. But basically, there is a young athlete student that Juan coaches because he's, I guess, the head coach, and there was some very much inappropriate situations going on between the assistant coach and one of the players, and there is an SA, and what the SA stands for. We want to be careful some of the word usages here, but there's a lawsuit against the school, and Juan is named in that as being someone that was consulted about what was going on, told about what's going on, and he apparently, according to the lawsuit and what has been being reported, did not do anything. So of course, these are all allegations. We don't know all the particulars, to fact, but that's what's being shared and reported around. So, she's got a lot going on nevertheless. And I think that maybe some of the lack of conversation and transparency about the situation with the women that Juan is supposed to be messing around with was a cover, more so not for that, but because they probably didn't want some of the other stuff to get out, because before a lawsuit happens or before it gets to the blog sphere, there is definitely rumblings and stuff going on, right? So maybe there was a way of trying to keep things quiet so you wouldn't keep digging and looking and finding something else. So yeah, there was that. But there was a lot of conversation about the wedding. And, you know, of course, Karen was very much, and she admitted she was obsessed about wanting to know when it was going to happen. But, you know, she at the end respected the fact that Robin said, look, it's going to happen. It's just going to happen when we want it to happen and the way we do it. And she's fine, whatever. But, you know, Robin really did talk a lot about the reason why they did things the way they did, you know, just kind of taking their time. She did talk about the prenup, and they did decide on getting a prenup, but it was a very standard, very simple prenup. They did not have the infidelity clause put in the prenup because she thought that might hurt her in the future. I just kind of don't feel that she's going to do anything, but you know, I guess you never know, I guess is what she's saying. So let's not put myself in a position that I'm going to hurt myself by asking of that of you. So there is that. It was funny that she mentioned about that everything's kind of like a 50-50 thing, but that she would not lose her businesses or anything like that. Of course, you know, when she was speaking about that, Charrise had, you know, kind of looked at her a little bit, 50-50, you know, so yeah, there was that. But they, you know, they talked a lot about that in great length, actually. And in part of that, you know, they discussed about, you know, how Robin was really about not having certain people at the wedding, which is basically everybody. She was going to have it in the Bahamas, I believe, the day after her brother's wedding. That did not work out. So, of course, like you would have seen if you had watched, they had the wedding in Maryland. I thought that what they did was really beautiful. It was, you know, look, this is the second time around for them, so they probably didn't feel the need for all the pomp and stance, and I kind of get that. But I think the finishing touches on everything was absolutely gorgeous. It was absolutely stunning, and it was a beautiful day. So yeah, I think that she did a really good job with that. They're now married, and she seems very happy. So, you know, kudos to them. Congratulations to them. Congratulations for the family. Hopefully, you know, everything will work out, right? So, but yeah, she was also happy about the fact that her parents were able to come. That was the right thing for that to happen. I didn't see how that was going to work without them coming. They were such proponents of supporting them two together. It just seemed like such a weird thing to say no. I mean, I get everybody else, fine, but your parents, like, why wouldn't you want them to be part of such a beautiful event? I mean, I don't know. It just didn't seem like, you know, it wasn't like they didn't support them. I can see if it was a situation where they were kind of gave them a lot of guff about them getting back together, and so they said, you know, look, we don't want any bad vibes, we don't want any bad energy, we just want it to be us and the family and the kids, and that's all we want. Fine, I can get that. But they were super uber supportive of Juan and Robin getting back together, the family together. So why wouldn't you want those good vibes, that good energy to be there with you? You know, why not? I don't think Juan's parents are with, you know, him anymore. So why wouldn't you want that kind of support? So yeah, she thought better of it. It worked out. It was great. And look, it was fine. And that's usually sometimes how it works out. So that was really good. Now, going back to the cheating allegations that started to erupt, because that's a whole nother separate part for it, right? We have the wedding situation, that was one thing, and then we have the cheating situation, that was another. And that dominated the season because there was a lot of going back and forth between Karen and Robin. And Karen about had enough of Robin, so she was like, looky here, I know what you know, and you know that there was another woman out here that he's galloping around with. I forget, whether it was Baltimore or wherever it was, and she looked like her. Well, Karen basically, you know, says, look, the sketch that y'all have running around, that's not quite how she looks. So maybe she just went by the blonde hair, but it was pretty funny. But anywho, you know, there was a lot of conversation about that. And if you remember, I forget where they went to next. Was it Thailand? I don't think it was Thailand. I forget. Was it Mexico? That they went for that second trip. And, you know, when she went into the store, now this is within the season, to basically tell, you know, call Juan and say, hey, look, this is what's going on, because Ashley had gotten the information from Karen directly, and Ashley, you know, she likes to carry those bones to wherever they need to go, even when she really probably shouldn't say anything at all. But, you know, hey, when you don't have a storyline, we got to make someone else a story, right? So, of course, you know, we all heard the screaming and hollering around the world, right? You know, Juan lost his ever-loving mind. I don't really know why he lost his ever-loving mind. I know that Robin shared that, you know, Juan doesn't really care for all the bite-backing and all of the issues and arguing and the ways they go after each other. But still, I just think that it was a bit over the top. And honestly, I would love to hear him say all of that stuff to Karen's face. I mean, I just don't think that he would have all that bravado, would have done that to her directly. And I just think it was unnecessary. You know how things get. You know, women can get catty. You clearly know that Robin and Karen don't always get along. So why not just basically just kind of just put it to rest and say, you know, that's not what's going on, but maybe because that was what's going on. Who knows, right? And these are allegations, right? I mean, there was a couple of things that came out, but, you know, nevertheless, and I say that too because Karen does share also on Watch What Happens Live after the reunion special that that was one woman that she was aware of. She knew about the other woman because the other woman was from Canada. So multiple people here, right? So that was crazy. But, you know, so all that hollering and all this stuff he was doing on the phone, I just thought it was totally unnecessary. But in any event, you know, he emphatically said he wasn't doing anything. He had enough. I'm tired of this crap. Blah, 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 blah. So, you know, of course, then that's when we hear about the whole situation with the woman. And I think I talked a lot about it on part 2. So, you know, go back and watch part 2 and we can conversate about that in more details there. But, you know, just kind of touching on it. Yeah, apparently, you know, he went, met up with some lady who says she was with someone who was Baltimore Raiders. I think it was Raiders. Oh my God, I feel bad about that. Oh well, anyways. But the whole issue made no sense. Like, if you were dating someone that was there, why are you calling somebody else to help you out of a jam? Why wouldn't you call them? And that never seemed to be a connected piece for me. But I didn't really dive in a whole lot in that situation. So if you know anything about that, drop it down in the comment section. But it just seemed like really foolishness, right? And basically, you know, the lady had put out receipts that one paid for her because the lady saying there was a relationship. There was things going on. Matter of fact, I believe there was some reports about the lady saying that, look, Robin and Juan's relationship is fake and it's just for the cameras. So, you know, at the end of the day, you know, so that was what all that was about. And they went into that conversation but of course, you know, Juan did not make it to the show, but we'll go into that a little bit further later on. But yeah, so that's where we're at on that. Now, also too, because Charrise was part of that segment, so I think I might have said that Charrise was excused, but not quite yet, because there's a couple of moments that come to mind. But that she was asked by Andy, Charisse, if she thought that Juan and Robin were going to, you know, stay together or whatever. And, you know, Charisse seemed to think that, yeah, it's a possibility. So, yeah, so that's what she thinks is a possibility. So cutting a little bit further on, because, of course, we're not really delving into the Canadian woman situation on the show. So keeping with the reunion aspect, right, because that was all Watch What Happens Live and everything outside of the show. But keeping in the flow of the show, they mentioned about the fun day. That Robin Fun Day, you know, it was like episode 2, 3 maybe of the season. It was like kind of the fun day that really wasn't that fun. And, you know, her and Wendy were kind of going at it from the beginning of the season. And there was the whole issue with Wendy. It was supposed to be a family fun situation. So all family members were supposed to be there. So naturally the ladies and their families, including their kids and all that good stuff, you know, for fun and games in, I guess, a big, huge park. It really wasn't really set up like it should be. Robin shares that was kind of a last minute thing thrown together. And my whole thing was, well, if it was a last minute thing thrown together, why bother it at all?